Good evening, students. Hello, hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
Well, hello. Awesome. Thanks everyone from the screen. Appreciate it. Welcome to week 2. Here we are together again. Promises to be a good time tonight. It's going to go super fast because we have plenty to do. I know that if it doesn't bring your joy to your heart, it does to mine, and hopefully it gets contagious. So really excited to see you all here in week 2. And let me hear from you as we wait for a few more people to arrive. How was your week? How was your first week in your doctoral program? Anything new, stressful, or that you need help with? Is anyone a late add? Any late ads? You're just starting in week 2 and you're losing your mind yet?
Yes, Professor. This is Dwight. I had sent you a mail. Yeah,
Yes, okay.
as I told you, I'm in the midst of a move. That's why I missed the first week.
Okay, yep. Got it. Okay, cool. But Dwight, here you are tonight. So happy to hear it. And I think you submitted a VCS, didn't you?
No, I will do that. I just
Oh, you'll do
finished
it.
my
Okay,
move. Yeah, I just finished. I'm
perfect.
still moving. I just moved, got an apartment right now. That's why.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're getting settled. That must be a relief to some extent.
Yeah, a bit.
Awesome. Let's see. I see other new faces in the room. Anyone else? Yeah. Osama, hi.
That's
Hi, how are you?
Christina.
Go ahead, Christina. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Christina.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
so yeah, I started in week 2 as well, though I submitted my assignment, but I do I have to do the VC in week
The
1 or
VCS.
yeah, the VCS in
Well,
week
here's how it plays out,
1.
students. If you do the VCS, you earn back all your participation points and you get to be present, marked present for that day. I'll mark you with a V, which is present, VCS. You don't have,
Okay.
skim through it. You can fast forward maybe through the introductions if you want. That's probably a full hour. But there's some vital information that if you miss in week 1, it kind of builds up over time. So it's a really good idea to watch the video.
Right.
And then you'll feel
Okay.
locked in,
Will do.
and also too, like, don't worry so much about following the template to the letter. You need to write a 2 to 3 page account of what happened. I don't want you to stress about that and go into a whole heck of a lot of detail. If you just submit a page, hit the high notes, let me know you registered for Zotero, just the high notes, 30,000 foot view, that's enough for me, and you'll get full credit.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Welcome. And let's see, someone else was going to talk. Osama, I think it was you.
Yep, it's my turn now. How you doing? That's good.
Perfect.
Yep. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me or not. Okay. Yep. I actually got registered late, and I sent you an email, and also I submitted the VCS and all the assignments. Got it graded too, so I believe I'm just catching up. So, yep, doing good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. I see that you missed everything, but you caught up very quickly and so quick graded. Amin, were you going to join us to say something?
Hey, yeah, I joined a bit late, but I managed to send the the VCS thing, and it got graded, but I didn't see it as present, marked present in my. It's still 0. It only says
Okay.
yes, but
Gotcha. Oh, hang on. I like to do that like in class, so thank you for letting me know. See if I can go back. Attendance. Anyone else, if you want to go check your attendance now, was anyone else marked?
Hi, Professor.
Not. Hello.
Yeah, I was
Hi, Ting.
also I also joined the class later because I wasn't assigned the classes last week, so I sent an email to advisor and they got assigned the class to me last Friday, I think. So I think I will add VCS and the assignment this week.
Shane, thank you for that. Welcome to class. Welcome to getting the best version of Doc 700. Just kidding. I'm not throwing shade on my colleagues. No, no, no. I'm just saying we got a good group here and I'm excited about it. Okay, let me see. Ying, James, sorry. I don't see you on my roster yet. And then, I'm not seeing you have it either. Do you see yourself in class on the roster, like in? Oh, Jing, I do see you.
my-
Never mind.
yeah,
Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
my legal full name is different, so it's
Oh,
longer.
okay. What?
So it's Mohammed
Okay.
Amin.
Oh, okay. Let me go back. Oh, there you are. Yep. Boom. Got it. Yep. And I gave
Thank you.
I gave you VCS attendance, so that's what you should see is a V.
Okay, because I
And that-
thought it should be 1 out of 1, but okay, I thought.
You got attendance. I don't know how it looks on your end. Sometimes it's weird. Like towards
Mhm.
the end of class. Hi, Dr. Gray. I see you now. Towards towards the end of class, you'll see like percentage to completion, and we're done with class, and you'll see like 98%. You'll be like, where are the 2%? I don't know why that happens. You can always check in with me. I'll confirm that you in fact are complete. Just a weird thing that I can't explain. But as I told you, Dr. Gray, plug your ears. This might be the best 700 class of all the 700s. So I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyway, we're going to start with a treat tonight. Dr. Gray is here from the Doctoral Writing Center, and she is queen of all things dissertation. So I'll lead with that, Dr. Gray, and you can take it over.
All right. I don't know if I have the ability to follow that. So yes, I am Dr. Gray. I am the Academic Success Manager and Director of the University Writing Centers, including the Doctoral Writing Center. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys this term, as you are going to have a lot of different submissions that you'll have to give to us. So you're going to be hopefully not sick of us by the end of the term, but yeah, we're going to work together a lot, and it's going to be great fun. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is share with you a slideshow that I'm going to be using to walk you guys through all the things that we have available for you in the DWC, the Doctoral Writing Center, and also the things that you can also use in the Writing Center, some of which you are required to use. Now let me go to my share screen, and here we are. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make sure that everybody is set up on MyWC Online. So you have everything ready to go to set up consultations with our wonderful doctoral writing specialists. And then we will talk about just the general writing center, what we do, what we don't do, how to submit a paper to us so you know exactly how to get your work from this class submitted on time, back on time, and everything, and also how to get the most out of your feedback when you do those submissions. So that is what we are going to focus on. So starting with the Doctoral Writing Center, we offer one-on-one dissertation doctoral course specific consultations. So I hesitate to say dissertation specific because it is just doctoral student specific. So I need to kind of update this slide. As long as you are a current and accepted doctoral student at Westcliff University, you are welcome to use the Doctoral Writing Center's resources. And those resources basically include, for the most part, synchronous and asynchronous one-on-one consultations. So a synchronous consultation would be via Zoom, and then asynchronous, you would just drop off the paper with us. We would provide you with written feedback and you would get it returned. So that's a big part of what we do. And so to get us kind of started off on the right foot, I'm going to go ahead and show you westcliff.mywconline. That is the link that you will want to use to actually access and get yourself all set up. I've just dropped that in the chat for you, so you can click on it there, or you can click on it from the slide, whichever. I don't actually know if it works from the slide. It might not because it's through Zoom, but hey, if it does, cool. If it doesn't, it's in the chat. But westcliff.mywc online, and it helps when you actually click the link. So there you go. All right, so if you have already set up an appointment in a previous course or just in a previous life or something like that, or maybe if you have worked with the Academic Resource Center, this is what you would see when you go back in. It would take you directly just to the overview of the different schedules that are available on Westcliff's whole MyWC Online, but I would assume that most of you probably don't have your accounts yet. So this is what you're going to see. And so you have the information here on the left-hand side, which is where you actually do your login. And then just general information here on the right. I strongly recommend you go ahead and walk through this with me so you can get your account set up. But if you don't, then we do have a video here that you can watch that also provides you with a walkthrough after we're done with this, and also a walkthrough of how to book an appointment. So we've got videos for you there. So the first thing you want to do to get your account set up is just come up here on the left-hand side where it says register for an account, and you're going to click that link. And lo and behold, it takes you right to where you go to register for a new account. And you just fill in everything that has a red asterisk next to it. So for your email address, you do need to make sure that you have your Westcliff email address in there, because it will not even let you finish setting up your account without that. For standing, you do want to go ahead and choose graduate student, since that's what we all are. Or you are, Dr. DeBello and I are not, but anyway, we're like, thank goodness we're finished. Yeah, exactly. For graduation year, I have not been able to get WC Online to update these years for some reason. So just choose NA for that graduation year. And then for your first or home language, if you don't see your language listed here, you can just select other. And then type in your program. So whether you're, DBA, EdD, whatever you might be. So type that in here, and then your student ID. And both of these last two fields, student athlete and are you an Achieve student, those are both going to be no. So those are simple answers. Once you've got all your information up here filled out, well, actually before that, let me pause and ask if you have any questions about the information that's included in that first section. All right. So password, just really simple. Make sure it's 10 characters or more in length. You can do capitals, numbers, whatever you want to do. It just needs to be 10 characters long. And then below that, you have communication preferences. I strongly recommend that you leave them on so that you'll get email updates whenever you either submit something so you know that your appointment has been made successfully. You'll also get emails automatically if we have to make any changes to your appointments, which very rarely happens. Usually the only time we would make an appointment change to your appointment is if you tell us to. But if for some reason we need to, like if we have a writing consultant that is unwell, or if we need to maybe shift you from one consultant to another or something along those lines, then you would get a automatic email once that happens. But again, that's not something that happens very often. Mostly you just want to have this to make sure that when you make your appointments, they are successfully made. And then also, this is the way that we will get your feedback returned to you if you submit a asynchronous paper to us. So we want to make sure that all these preferences are turned on so that everything will actually go through to your email. You can also select to have text messages sent to you to receive those automatic updates. So you're welcome to do that. Once you have all those filled in, last thing you do is just hit that you're not a robot, hopefully. And then hit create account. And once you select create account, it is going to bring you back to this page so that you can log in with your new credentials. So questions about that before I show you how to set up an appointment with one of our doctoral writing specialists? Awesome. All right. So what you want to do to set an appointment with the doctoral writing specialist then is just type in the credentials that you just made right up here, email address and the password you selected, and then click on Doctoral Writing Center. And then if you are on a computer that you're okay with leaving yourself logged in, you can go ahead and click this little box and it'll just keep you logged in all the time. So you're not having to, go in and out. Otherwise, just go ahead and select login and it'll bring you directly to our calendar where you can see all of the appointments that are open, all of the ones that have already been made, et cetera, and so on. So the way you tell the difference, if an appointment is already taken, it's going to be dark gray like this one. You're not going to be able to hover over it and see who took the appointment, but I can see it just because I'm an administrator. But so anything that's dark gray is unavailable. Also, anything that's blue is unavailable. Those are just hours that particular consultant does not work. So for example, if you wanted to schedule an appointment tomorrow, then you could have an appointment with either Dr. Eimer or Dr. Hayes at 3 p.m., 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. Pacific time. So everything on here is Pacific time, just to make things simple. So it's not going to like change depending on where you are or anything like that. And then all you have to do, like I said, just look for any white box and then you just click on it. So if you choose to schedule an appointment with Dr. Eimer at 3 p.m. Pacific, then you're just going to come up here to this white box and click on it, and it will open the just the page that you need to fill in the information for to set your appointment. So all you need to do is just fill in these few fields down here, your course code, course title, instructor, and then the instructor's email address. So Doc 700, what is it, Doctoral Foundations. Your instructor is Dr. DeBello, and then email address. I pretty much have it memorized now, but so should you because it's on all of your stuff for this course. And then what would you like to work on today? And that's going to be one of those important parts. We know you want to work on your writing or the specific writing assignment, but if you can be even more specific about it, let us know, are you interested in ensuring that you're following correct formatting? You're getting ready to work on your research synthesis paper. So are you maybe hopefully interested in ensuring that instead of focusing on summary, you are actually focusing on those elements of synthesis like comparison and contrast and identifying limitations, looking for thematic similarities or gaps in research and those types of things. So what specifically would you like to work on? The more specific you can be, the better equipped we will be to provide you either with really strong written feedback or a great one-on-one session. So feel free to type away here because there is no limit as far as the characters are concerned. We do already have access to all of the assignments that you guys are going to be doing for this class, so you don't need to worry about submitting like assignment details or anything like that. Just for this class, though. For any other class that you're in, you definitely want to submit those so that we know what you're working on. And then when is the assignment due? That's going to help us. Obviously, later on, when you start working on the actual dissertation, there's not necessarily going to be a specific due date associated with things, which is why this does not have an asterisk next to it. So you can leave that blank if you have to. But of course, for Doc 700, you absolutely do have due dates. So go ahead and put that in so we know what that is. And then the last and another one of the most important elements on this is choosing the method by which you would like to attend your session. So if you just want written feedback and you don't want to actually come to a Zoom appointment with a writing consultant, then you'll choose this first option, written feedback, no Zoom meeting. If you do want to attend a session and actually talk to one of our writing consultants, then you choose the second option, online consultation, Zoom meeting. Okay. And then attach your file, give it a funny little title, and click Create Appointment. Questions about this?
Sorry, I have a question. So when you submitting your maybe assignment, can you also request for someone who is familiar with maybe the area I'm trying to research on, or is just general? You can just submit your assignment and anybody at all can help.
We are going to be, the short answer to your question is no, because we don't have necessarily like subject matter experts when it comes to business or education or technology and those types of things. What our subject matter expertise is in is writing dissertations. And so, yeah, what we're going to help you with is not so much, finding sources or determining whether or not that's the best source to use in a particular situation, because that's not necessarily our field. However, we are going to be able to determine if the source you've chosen actually allows you to use it in such a way that you have effectively supported your argument or your claims. And so that does not in any way require us to be experts in your field. And that's the majority of what we do. It's, if you are using, it's the quality of the sources ends up coming through in the writing, I guess, is the short answer of what I'm trying to get at. Because if you have found good sources and you are using those to support your claims, then you don't really necessarily have to have someone who is an expert in that field to help you with your writing. But at the same time, if we're seeing the writing is needing, some work, and we can look at the sources and maybe see that they're not necessarily A, up to date, B, peer reviewed, things like that. If we're looking at like a lot of just like open source web information and that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing we can absolutely help you with and point you in the direction of ensuring that you're getting peer reviewed sources from the library, from reputable databases, no matter what your subject is. But the things that we're going to help you focus on are creating that solid argument, ensuring that you have a problem statement and that you have research questions and that you have solid synthesis in your literature review, and that you are keeping everything in alignment as well. Like as you go from problem statement through your purpose and into your methodology, everything sticks straight in alignment. So those are the things that we're really going to focus on in your sessions.
And do we have limits of submission, or you can always submit as and when you want to?
For the doctoral writing center, you can have one appointment per week. For the regular
Okay.
for the regular writing center, you can have as many appointments as you want. And I always try to get those kicked over to our doctoral writing specialists as well. So for the synthesis paper and the mini research proposal that you're working on in this class, I've specifically trained our general writing center specialist to be able to comment on those. But if you submit something, like if you were to submit your prospectus or like chapter 1 or something like that to the regular writing center for review, which you absolutely can do, I'm not going to just give that to anyone to review, because not everyone knows how to write a prospectus. Not everyone knows how to write, the nature of a study or, a theoretical framework or anything like that. That's very specialized information that our doctoral writing specialists know how to do, because we've all done it. We all have PhDs and we all had to do that to get it.
Right.
So if you submit something like that to the regular writing center, which we'll talk about in a second, then I will actually just kind of kick it over. So you guys kind of get a little bit of a little secret loophole that you get to use just because you are doctoral students. So yay, you.
Thank you. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
How long does this normally take once we submit the paper or any assignment? How long does it take to kind of get feedback? Would we get it in the same slot or?
Yeah. So if you, for example, if you were to select this appointment here with with Dr. Eimer tomorrow, you would have it returned to you by 4 p.m. Pacific time, because she would basically go in right at 3 o'clock and review it during those hours. Occasionally we'll go a little bit over because I know she is a lot like me, and she'll tend to sit down and go, okay, well, I've got this session at 2 o'clock, and I just kind of forget what I'm doing. And the next thing I know, I've spent 2 hours providing feedback. Oh no. And so you might get an email and say, hey, I'm going to be just a little bit delayed. But the worst case scenario is that you would have this by the end of the day. So you would definitely have it, but usually it would be either by 4 o'clock Pacific time or by 5, like at the latest. So it's once you select that slot for your appointment, that 1 hour period is when your review is going to be done, whether it's on Zoom or whether it's doing the drop-off appointment. And that is very different from what happens in the writing center, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay. Other questions? Perfect. Okay. So if you do choose to have an online consultation, well, one way or the other, once you've set an appointment, one of the clear indications that you have done so effectively is going to be that the appointment time that you've selected is going to turn like it's either bright green or bright yellow. I can never remember which one. But so instead of white for you, this appointment with Dr. Eimer would be some kind of bright color that lets you know without a shadow of a doubt that this is yours. And so then in order to attend your appointment, if you choose an online consultation, you'll actually come back in to My WC Online to do that. So you're not going to receive like a Zoom link or anything like that. Instead, what you'll do is come back to this calendar, come up here to this appointment spot, click on it, and now right within this box where it says Meet Tutor Online, you'll see a red button that says Start or Join Consultation. And you just click on that button and it pops you into your Zoom meeting, and that is where you'll have your consultation with your specialist. All right. Okay, any final questions about setting up your account with the Doctoral Writing Center or setting an appointment with the Doctoral Writing Center? Perfection. Continuing on. Now we're going to kind of start talking about the overlap between the Doctoral Writing Center and the regular Writing Center. So one of the key things that we do as the writing centers here at Westcliff is provide you with a number of APA 7th edition format resources. And so this link will take you directly to our resource page. So this is just a page directly off of the Writing Center homepage, which is just very simply writingcenter.westcliff.edu. And I can, because I love a nice copy and paste. Ooh, and I just noticed I think I have a question in the chat as well. Any form. That is actually going to be a question that you'll want to direct to Dr. DeBello. So I just got a question from, I believe it's Lee Sun, that was just enrolled in your course. So you might want to connect with her and make sure that, cool. So well
Okay,
done.
thank you.
Yep, you're connected. Okay,
Sure thing.
mission accomplished. Okay, so the homepage, actually, we have just updated this and we're super excited about it. So what we have here is essentially a homepage that tells you all about the various academic success resources that you have available to you at Westcliff. So instead of it just being Writing Center specific, it's going to tell you everything about the Academic Resource Center. You can learn about the library and our digital resources there. You can also learn about the Writing Center and the Doctoral Writing Center. And then also, once you get into working on your, like finishing up the prospectus and the proposal, and you're ready to start looking at IRB review, all of that information is here as well. So even though we are third on the list, that does not mean that we are, you know, not as important as others. But you can, one of the two ways that you can also, you know, reach the appointment center for the Doctoral Writing Center, you can also just click here on Doctoral Writing Center, and it'll take you right to a specific page that just gives you overview about us. You can schedule an appointment here, learn a little bit more about us. And I'm going to be talking about these writing support groups because I'm going to be kicking those back off again. But anyway, the point of me going to this website, if I can rein myself in, was that I was showing you where the APA 7th edition resources page is. So when you go to our homepage, again, writingcenter.westcliff.edu, just come right here into the middle to where it says resources. And the very first option is APA format 7th edition. And so this is going to give you resources that are associated with the most commonly asked questions around APA that we tend to get, and also the most commonly seen areas of opportunity that we tend to notice and identify within student papers. So it's definitely not exhaustive. I still strongly recommend that everyone have their own APA manual, whether it's a digital copy or a physical copy, whatever floats your boat. Definitely have one of those, but this is going to be super helpful in a pinch. I recommend that you bookmark it and just kind of keep it handy. One of the best resources that we have is your APA sample paper here, which basically provides you with just, here's an image. This is exactly what my paper should look like. And so I need to make my paper match it. If it doesn't match or anything's off, then you know there's something in your paper that needs to be changed. And the best part about it is it doesn't just say, here's what it looks like. It explains to you exactly why it does. So like, here's the abstract, which we should know generally is not going to be included in a student paper, and it tells you that. So it has explanations for everything. But if you have a professor who wants you to practice writing an abstract, you also have what you need to know how to format it and what to include in it. And then once you get to the body of the paper, the content actually explains what each part is, why it's there, why it's formatted the way it is, and how to follow this sample, and use it kind of like a template, even though you can't actually like download it and then, you know, put stuff directly into it. So this is also something that I would recommend you bookmark. But in addition to this, we've got some dissertation specific information here, like seriation rules, as far as like using bullet points or numbered lists and things like that, which should be used exceedingly sparingly, if at all, in your academic writing. But we have just a tutorial that shows you what to do if you do have a situation that warrants them. Also information about creating tables and those types of things. Just the general kind of really specific and really specific. Just the very specific and kind of more nuanced types of things that you need to know as you're writing a dissertation and working on that kind of study, as opposed to when you're just writing a basic student paper. And the last thing I'd point out here, anything that has a little film icon next to it is going to be a video tutorial, and anything that has a piece of paper and pencil icon is going to be a sample, just a visual image of what something should look like. All right. The other set of resources that we keep available specifically for everyone is general academic writing support resources. So you get to them the same way that you got to the APA page. So if you were at the Westcliff Writing Center homepage, then you would come over here to resources, and the second link down is where you'll find our academic writing support page. And this has everything from PowerPoint templates that are Westcliff branded that you're welcome to use if you find yourself in a class that requires creation of a PowerPoint presentation. We've also got resources, tutorials on how to use AI responsibly, and then effective writing tutorials. So everything from creating a strong introduction to making sure that you're avoiding comma splices and correcting them if and when you find them. Also some general information about research. So if you're still, curious about whether or not you want to do a qualitative or quantitative study, we've got a little bit of information here about the differences between the two. And like what a mixed method study is. Don't do that. But anyway, so yeah, I'm like,
Take that seriously. It's under her breath,
exactly.
but
You
she's
will,
serious. She means business.
yeah, you will not forgive yourself if you choose to do mixed methods. It's a lot. So the differences between the two, different terminology that each one tends to require. So like explore versus examine, those types of things. And also great resources like how to find credible sources, and make sure that, if you're doing something like, ooh, I'm just going to go look on Google, maybe not the best option for you. And by maybe, I mean absolutely not. So yeah, credible sources is going to be a great one for you too. All right. The next thing, these next pieces are things that we have specifically for doctoral students. We're getting ready to do a redesign of our webpage, but for right now, this is where they're at, and they're going to be there for a while. If anything, and when this happens, they'll be even easier to find than they are now. So we have a number of just basic support resources. So dissertation specific handouts and tutorials, some specific about like how to ensure that you are actually engaging in synthesis rather than summary, formatting guides and checklists that are going to come in super handy once you start really working on these specific dissertation documents. And then this is one thing that I'm super proud of. We're getting ready to relaunch writing support groups, which are kind of just like a co-working type situation. So I remember when I was working on my dissertation, it was a lot of just sitting alone in front of a computer and feeling bad, feeling sorry for myself, and wishing that I was finished. And it would have been, I felt, a lot easier to continue my work if I had some kind of accountability outside of just me sitting there by myself. And so that's what these writing support groups provide. Essentially, it's a 2-hour session You come in the beginning and we spend about 15 minutes just sharing what our intentions are for that session. You know, what do you want to try to accomplish? Do you want to try to get through editing a couple of pages? Do you want to actually craft a small section of the dissertation? You know, are you focusing on research? Because you don't have to use it to write. You can absolutely use it for studying as well. The point is, you set an intention, you focus on that intention for 90 minutes, and then we come together again at the end of it for 15 and talk about what we accomplished. And we don't berate each other if we didn't meet our goals. Instead, we talk about how we're going to meet them next time. All right. So those are getting ready to come out. So be sure to keep an eye on your email. We're also revamping our dissertation boot camps into kind of more bite-sized workshops. So instead of having to spend multiple nights, 4 hours a night doing this, there'll be 1 hour to 90-minute sessions that'll focus on very small and specific pieces. Hopefully, I'm going to have one of those ready to go in conjunction with the class that you're in right now. Fingers crossed. Yeah, depends on whether people stop scheduling meetings on my calendar. If they do that, I will have it for you. If they do not, you'll know who to blame. But eventually we will have a very robust calendar of events that include things that'll be really specifically helpful for dissertating students as they work through that dissertation. And the first ones to launch are going to be these writing support groups. So I hope to see some of you in there writing along with me, because I will many times be the one who's supporting it so that I can use the time to work on my manuscript. Yay, because glutton for punishment. Okay, so those are a couple of things that we have. And then process, once you get into the dissertation process, your links for forms and templates and just general dissertation descriptions, we are your home for that. And also information about preparing for your preliminary and final defenses. So I put this on here because it's a little easier to go through it just as a general overview. But to find this information, again, you'll just come to our homepage, come over here to the Doctoral Writing Center, and the two specific pages that I was just talking about that all those resources are on the dissertation process page here, and then the doctoral support page here. So I strongly recommend you guys take some time to go through both of these two links, and even come down here and see what happens after you get completed so you have something to look forward to. But take a look at those and just see all the various resources that we have available. And if you see something that, or if you don't see something that you wish was available, feel free to send an email to me in the Writing Center and we'll see about creating it for you, for everybody. All right, so all of those resources are one of the major things that we do in the Writing Center, but in addition to that, we also offer asynchronous reviews to all students in at Westcliff University at all levels. So instead of the ones that you set up with the Doctoral Writing Center, which are on a specific day at a specific time, this is my 1 hour section. These are essentially first come, first serve. So you drop off your paper with us, we give it to the first available reviewer, and then they will have 45 minutes within a 2-day window to actually do this review. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that works here in just a second, but let's talk about the reviews themselves first. All right, so asynchronous feedback. So drop off. 45 minutes covers content, organization, APA, and language. So content is going to be the big picture. You know, this is, are you meeting your assignment guidelines? Are you actually, if you're required to do an analysis, is this analysis, you know, whatever you're supposed to do, are you actually doing it and are you doing it well? So that's how to think of content. Organization, do you have all the parts that are supposed to be there? So whether those are parts associated with a particular assignment or just with an essay, like introduction, body, conclusion, and do they work well in order with one another? So we're going to look at transitions between paragraphs, transitions between sections, and even just the flow of individual sentences within a paragraph. If we're seeing things kind of skipping around, or if sections need to be rearranged, if they would make more sense that way, that's what we would look at for you in organization. APA is going to be document format, in-text citations, and references. That's what we'll focus on for you there. And then language is pretty much everything else, right? So it's going to be spelling, grammar, just everything else. So like your general proofreading type concerns, that would be the focus. So those are the general areas that we cover, and we do that in one of 3 ways, and you get to choose the way we do it. So if you just want us to look at your paper and then provide you with a whole bunch of comments down the right-hand margin in a Word document, then comment on everything is what you'll want. If you prefer to have your feedback spoken as opposed to having to read it, then you would choose video recorded feedback. Instead of typing out your comments, we'd actually record ourselves providing you with feedback, and then we would just highlight sections associated with the comments that we're making and attach resources for you to use. But the comments themselves would be 100% spoken and recorded. And then if you're more of a visual person and you want your commentary to be color coded, then just choose color coded. You would then get to choose 2 sections that we focus on. So let's say you want us to focus on content and APA. We would provide typed comments down the right-hand margin of your Word document, and we would highlight those comments in, for example, green for content, yellow for APA, kind of like this teal color for organization, and gray for language. All right. Questions about any of this before I keep moving forward? I know I've talked about a lot. Perfect. Okay. So in addition to the general resources and also providing these, review sessions, we also are very well equipped to help you with making sure that you are using AI responsibly, and that you are also kind of avoiding issues with plagiarism or similarity. So starting with AI, whether you choose to come to us for assistance with making sure you're using it responsibly, or whether you've been sent to us because of an issue that may have been identified with AI generation percentages, we can absolutely help you understand ways and learn ways to use AI models in a responsible manner, because we're not going to suggest that you just don't use them, because they are excellent tools. Rather, what we're going to do is teach you how to use them responsibly and ethically, and in a way that does not take your own thinking and your own learning out of the equation, right? So if you're the key reason, like one of the main reasons we actually see people getting high AI generation scores is not because they're having AI necessarily just sit and write a paper for them, but rather because they've used AI to help them correct large quantities of grammar or stylistic concerns, like academic tone. So you did the original writing, but now you're using something like Grammarly or another AI model to come in behind you and kind of clean up your work. That's all fine and dandy, but what it's doing is actually, just like I said, it's rewriting your work. And so that creates an issue for a number of reasons. But then another thing we see often is using AI for translations. So it's not a word for word translation. And when you use it, if you type an entire essay in one language and then put it in to an AI model, it's going to make a whole lot of other changes besides just making it into English. So we created a job aid that can help you to learn how to use this responsibly. And I will drop this into the chat for you. Okay, so basically what you want to do, instead of just going into whatever AI you want to use and saying, hey, give me a revision, because a lot of times you might have even heard feedback from a professor or something, go in, use it, but then just make sure that you paraphrase it or put it back in your own words. I mean, fine, but wouldn't it be easier if you didn't have to try to figure out how to rewrite something that already sounds pretty good to you? So instead, what you want to do is use these prompts. So if we're using the example of grammar and using AI to help you to fix your grammatical issues, then what you would want to do is tell any AI model to identify your grammatical errors and explain why they're wrong, how to correct them, and then tell it specifically not to rewrite your section of text. So that's really the key to it, is asking it for help and telling it specifically not to just provide you with rewrites, but to instead provide you with the knowledge that you need to do your revisions on your own. So when you do this, it's going to go, here's your first error. Here's like even what the error is called and why it's wrong. Here's how to correct it. And so now, instead of just having something do all the work for you and robbing you of that opportunity to learn more about grammar and become a better writer, you now have learned what the grammar error was, how to correct it, how to identify it in the rest of the paper, how to avoid making that error again in future papers. And you've also avoided that high AI percentage, which is going to get you a bad score in class, right? So all of those things are now happy moments. But you can also use this, you can revise it to work for just about any writing situation. So it's not just for grammar, it's not just for translation. So if you're doing like the other example I use here is academic tone, so where, provide me with some areas or show me some areas where I have opportunities with tone, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is you can revise these, or even you don't necessarily have to use 4 prompts. You can just use whatever prompts you need. The key is to make sure that you're telling it not to just spit out a bunch of text for you, right? And then also, if any of you are doing any research specifically on outputs that come from AI, I've also included on this guide the link for the article that APA has produced that tells you exactly how to cite those outputs. Keep in mind that this is not saying that you can just have AI write something for you and then as long as you cite it, it's okay, because that is not what we're saying. We're saying if you are studying, like for example, the accuracy of AI's answers to questions, then you would need to be able to cite those answers that an AI model provides, right? This is how you would cite them. All right. Questions about that before I talk really quickly about similarity? Cool. So with similarity issues, it tends to be one of 2 things. It's not often the case that somebody has just turned in somebody else's paper or something along those lines. Rather, what we see are students who don't necessarily know when, where, why, or how to cite something, in which case we have a tutorial for just general APA in-text citation information. And so that's going to teach you exactly when, where, why, and how to cite things. And then also, of course, this is something that we will absolutely provide you with feedback on your papers if and when you submit them to the Writing Center. And then the other thing that we tend to see is high similarity scores because of an over-reliance on using quotes rather than paraphrasing. And so when you quote something, obviously it's going to show up as identical to the original source, and that's going to push your similarity score through the roof. And so if your professor is then coming to you and saying, well, you need to go to the Writing Center or you need to fix this, and you're like, but I don't understand, I'm not plagiarizing. No, you're not plagiarizing. However, you're not necessarily doing what you need to do to show your own abilities as a scholar, right? And so that comes through in paraphrase when you're able to show your own understanding of a source and that source's arguments and their claims and their methodologies that they've used, et cetera, by actually paraphrasing it and putting it into your own words. So rather than just parroting what somebody else said. So we've got, again, 2 tutorials here, one for paraphrasing and how to do it well, one for when to quote versus when to paraphrase. You can also use this resource here to tell an AI model to help you learn how to better paraphrase sections of sources. And of course, also that is something that we will be more than happy to provide you with feedback on your papers when you submit them. All right. So things that we don't do. Now that you know everything that we do in the Writing Center and the Doctoral Writing Center, one thing that we don't do only in the Writing Center is provide synchronous feedback. So if you just want like a really quick review, we're not going to be able to do that. But if you were to go to the Doctoral Writing Center calendar and see that someone had an appointment that was coming up in 5 minutes, you could absolutely schedule yourself for that. So that is the closest thing to like synchronous feedback that we give. But then also the Doctoral Writing Center, of course, you can schedule a Zoom appointment to actually meet with someone. So just know that if you're looking for that one-on-one meeting, you need to make sure that you go to that MyWC online calendar and schedule it that way. Whether you are submitting to the Doctoral Writing Center or the Writing Center, we do not edit or proofread your papers for you. Instead, what we will do is provide you with the tools and the resources that you need to become better editors and proofreaders of your own work, which are skills that every student should be looking to cultivate. So that is what we will do. We do not guarantee grades and we cannot predict them. what we can do is just help you to build your writing skills. We're also never going to contradict anything that your professor says. So if we provide you with feedback and you come back and say, well, my professor said this, do what your professor said. Okay. Even if it's something, you know, there have even been situations where it's like, okay, so do this, even though it's not technically following APA 7th edition. I'm not the one grading your paper. Okay. So that's that. Your professor is always going to have the last word. Last but not least, and that's not something that happens often at all. It's happened like one time. Finally, we do not provide same day or expedited feedback in the Writing Center. So when you're just dropping off your paper for us to review in the General Writing Center, it's always going to take at least a number of hours for you to get it back. And so this brings us back to the question that we had earlier, which was about how long does it take? Well, I answered the question about the Doctoral Writing Center, which is your appointment is your appointment. But for the regular Writing Center, when you submit a paper to us, so for example, if you were to submit a paper today, right after this class, it's Tuesday, I would assign that paper to a writing specialist tomorrow, and that specialist would have all day on Wednesday and Thursday to do their review, and they would have to have it back to you by 11:59 p.m. on Thursday. That would be the latest that you would get it back. Odds are, especially this early in the semester, you're probably going to get it back sooner than that. But just know that that is the kind of the end of that spectrum that you might expect. So then the next logical question is, since my assignments are due at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, when do I need to make sure that I submit my work by? And the answer to that question is, ideally, you submit it as early in the week as you can. But if you're going to wait to the last minute, that last minute needs to happen on Thursday. And that is because we don't actually do any work in the Writing Center on Sundays, just to make sure that we can all have a day off, myself included. And so if you submit something to us on Friday, I'm going to assign it Saturday, and then they will have Saturday and Monday to work on it. They may choose to go ahead and complete it on Saturday and get it to you, but there's no guarantee. And this brings us back to the expedited point. Just no, I won't. So it's, we get a lot of, and by we, I mean I get a lot of emails asking, hey, you know, I'm super sorry I couldn't get this in because of XYZ reason. Can you please make sure I have this in time for me to, you know, submit this work by Sunday? The answer will and always has to be no, because if I were to say yes to one student, obviously I would have to say yes to them all. And with the number of them that we get, none of us would ever see a weekend again. So all of Westcliff students are equally as special, and they all have special circumstances. And so we really just can't put one paper in front of another. So no same day, no expedited from the Writing Center. Questions about that? Cool. All right, perfect. I'm like, it's not about me being difficult. It's just about me trying to make sure that none of my specialists go crazy, myself included, when I'm helping out. All right, so how to submit a document to the Writing Center. We already know how to set up an appointment with the Doctoral Writing Center, so that's covered. But if you're going to submit work to us, and you can submit as many times as often as you want to, you're going to use this link. Obviously, it's here on this slide. And now it is also in your chat. And when you come up to our home page, you can submit a paper here. If you scroll down, you'll also see submit your paper for review here. And when you're up at the very top, if you just hover over where it says Writing Center and you see this little dude that says submit, you can click on him and he will also take you to the form that you use to submit your papers. So, and then you also have many links to submit to us in this course. So you don't even have to leave your Doc 700 course to make your submissions. Okay, so when you do make your submission, again, make sure that you've got your Westcliff email address. It is just a form, like a Google form that you're going to be filling out. And then we do ask for your professor's email address. And then the last thing that I want to make sure you understand is that you do have to give it to us as a Word file. So if you try to upload like a PDF, or if you try to send a, you know, like a Google Doc or something along those lines, we will send it back to you. And that's going to delay your feedback. So Word files only. Make sure that that's what we get. And then I've just got some general tips and tricks to make sure that you get the most out of your feedback from us. Most of them I've already at least touched on. This one definitely, be specific, include your assignment instructions if you have them. Again, that's mostly for other classes. We know all of the assignments for this class, but for other classes, just go ahead and do that. Submit as early as you can and as often as you can. And also realize that if you use our services, it does not mean that you're in remediation or that you're a bad writer or anything along those lines. It means the opposite, actually. So great writers often and always are out looking for feedback and using it to improve their writing. And so it just means that you're becoming a great writer. All right. So I see a hand up. Osama, what is your question?
Yeah, just have a question. Whenever we would like to submit to the writing center, then we need to go through the Google form, or we just can go at the account that we made and we created. So we can submit in either way, or
You can, but it depends on what type of an appointment you want to have. So the ones that you are required to do for this course, you're going to use this Google form. So it's going to be this, just the general writing center. That's where you're required to make all of your submissions. You're also strongly encouraged to work with a consultant in the writing center if you choose to.
I'm asking because actually, I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just booked an appointment and I submitted already for this assignment by tomorrow, and I just choose no Zoom meeting. I just wanted it to be the feedback to be written. That's all I need. So not quite sure if I'm gonna have to submit it again.
No, that'll actually for our purposes, that's essentially you kind of did what I would do. So in the beginning, before we get inundated, I usually try to get most of them over to doctoral writing specialist. So yeah, it's fine. You'll get great feedback. And again, the doctoral writing specialists know the assignments as well. So yeah, you're set.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Sarah, I have a question too, if you don't mind.
Uh-huh.
My question is about plagiarism. So I faced this issue in last week's assignment where I was trying to follow a template that was shown in the class, and because of the template, there was high number of percent of plagiarism shown. So did I do anything wrong in that, or how should I navigate around those situations in future?
You really don't need to worry much about it at all, because your professor is going to understand that you are working off of a template. I have a lot of my assignments templated as well. So when those come through, Turnitin, and I'm seeing, 40, 50, 60%, I know it's because it's a templated question or a templated situation with just a very short answer that follows it. Or even if it's, more, if you're, pushing 30 or 40%, again, your professor is going to understand, and they'll be able to see specifically in the report exactly what it is that is identical. So if they pull up the report, they can see that it's the template pieces that are being highlighted and not your text. So yeah, no, you did everything that you were supposed to do. And so the only issue that you would have then is if your professor was then talking to you about, okay, well, now maybe you had a high ratio of quotes or, things like that. But the template material, your professor will know, and you'll just understand that it's always going to show a high percentage.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think this is a good time too to discuss the difference between an AI score and a similarity score. Similarity score, it's not even like most of the time I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's just the reference page, or that's just they copy and pasted the, citations. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't even blush when I see 39% similarity, because I just go quick check and I'm like, oh, it's there, 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 and there. That's the reference page. No problem. AI is totally different. Generative AI shows up in a variety of checkers. And if you take the time to clean it using a cleaner, i.e. erasing the code behind it so it escapes AI checkers, that's even worse in some ways, because I know what it sounds like. Your professors in the doctoral, we know what it sounds like. It sticks out so badly to us. We're like, yeah, says 0%. That's not true. So then we have to go deep And usually that means me consulting deans of colleges to do a deeper dive and produce a 62-page paper, for example. And then that gets into academic integrity issues. And that's where it gets real serious. And so, and this is why Dr. Gray is really underscoring, you know, we want you to leverage AI in the right way.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's, if you're going to spend the time to do something like that, spend the time to write a decent paper, right? I mean, for the amount of time that it takes to try to find the loopholes. And I know that Dr. DeBello and I are both just shocked by this sometime. I'm like, if this student had spent even a fraction of the amount of time trying to find this loophole that they had spent actually working on the paper, it probably would have been stellar. But now instead they have an issue with, you know, academic dishonesty. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, at this point, and that's something that we will look for. We don't run a scan automatically for either Turnitin or AI in the Writing Center. But if it comes through and it seems clear that this is something that was written by AI, then we will do a scan. And so it'll be, you know, like I'll use usually GPT-0 or something along those lines just to see what it is. And it's like, yeah, sure enough, there it is. And then, or we've been asked before to run Turnitin scans for similarity and other things. And if we do that, yes, it will then affect a later similarity report. But again, your professor will be able to see that it was the Writing Center that ran a scan. And that's why your information is actually in like the system. And it's not because you're, you know, using somebody else's information. They can literally like pull up the initial paper and see that it was you, your name, the Writing Center that did the submission. And so they'll be able to see everything. Other questions about anything? Well, anything to do with the Writing Centers anyway. All right. Let's see. I think that covers everything that I wanted to do. I'm just going to drop in my email address. So if you do have questions that you just didn't feel like asking or that you didn't want to drop into the chat, please don't hesitate to send them to me via email and I'll be happy to answer them that way. And also, as I noted before, you know, if you're looking through all of our resources online and you're like, hey, I really wish they had this, send me an email. I'm always looking for things additional that my my specialists can do when we're not inundated. And also, you know, I'm also always super excited to work on new workshops and things like that. So if there's something that you think that would be a good addition, then absolutely let us know. If you would benefit from it, then probably 90% of students would as well. So I would love to hear from you all, and I definitely look forward to working with you guys as you submit your work this semester. Yeah.
Dr. Gray, cannot thank you
Thank you so
enough. As
much.
always, a wealth of information and such a pleasure. You make it so much fun and make it so exciting.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Considering it's not exactly the most exciting information, so I do try. All right.
Perfect. Thanks for taking the time
Cool.
tonight.
Absolutely. Let me know when I can come back, and you guys all have a great night.
Awesome. Thank
Bye.
you. Okay, students. So now that that was a lot, but so important. So important. Any questions for me around the Writing Center, submissions, all that good stuff? Okay. I'm gonna I have obviously a slide presentation to show you, and then we're gonna watch a really important video on synthesis. I'm gonna give you what's coming, what's new, what's next. And
So I just
then,
have a question, actually, if you don't
Sure.
mind. I believe in the gap it says whenever we're gonna submit this assignment, we need to include the feedback from the the doctoral center. So how that work? Do we need just to submit the assignment already, or just wait until we get the feedback, then submit 2 papers, or how these things work?
Such a good question. So glad you asked it. So for this class, you actually don't need to send me the Writing Center edition because they automatically email me. Like the minute you send something to Writing Center, right after they work on it, they send it to me on my email. So if you upload it also, I'm getting it double time. And it's just much easier for you. If you get that feedback, make the changes and the revisions, only submit the revised edition to GAP. And also to students, please only submit to GAP. If you submit in my email, I have no way to grade it in GAP. It like has no value sitting in my email. It has to be uploaded to GAP. Now, say you really bomb a paper and you get 0 or you get 67%. And that's great. And you say, can I please, please, please make it up? And most of the time I say yes. If you really need to make it up. I will then, you won't be able to resubmit to GAP. But you'll tell me you want to submit it. And then I will go into GAP and delete your submission, clearing the path for you to now submit to GAP. So again, no reason to ever submit to my email. Maybe something like towards the end as you do your video reflections, like maybe your video is too big. That's okay. Copy the link onto a document, upload the document, and then it'll be able to be received by GAP. So those are some hacks, and we'll continue to talk about those over the weeks as you run into like, you know, hiccups and stuff like that and need extra help. Yeah, good question. Also too, there are some very specific assignments. Like this is a cool thing in week 4. You're going to submit your rough draft of your mini proposal. And then that week you're going to submit that to Writing Center. They're going to give you feedback and then submit the revised edition to GAP. So which is nice. You're going to get extra help, a long time to work on this mini proposal. And everything we do in this class is scaffolded, which means we continue to build from week 1. Like you did your annotated bibliography. In some ways, that's the hardest part because that's your initial research. You got to show what you know from your initial research. Synthesis paper, which is coming up next, is taking all that information and synthesizing it. So it's a lot easier than last week's assignment. Like week 2 is easier. It just is. But you will have to make sure you're not summarizing again, but rather synthesizing. And we're going to talk very specifically about what that means tonight. Week 3 is about methodology. So it means you're thinking about quantitative, qualitative, theoretical frameworks, conceptual, like what does this look like? To think about how you're going to use everything you've done so far methodologically. Now, we're not saying you're going to conduct studies right now, but we're saying if you were going to conduct studies on this topic, what would it look like? And the reason we do that, students, is to give you the foundation for what it will feel like to your dissertations and all the research leading up to your dissertation. So this is foundational. It's practice. If you're going to make mistakes, do it here. It's a great place to make mistakes. It's a great place to be clunky and in some ways mess up using a template. Because then I'm going to come back and say, where's the template? You didn't follow it to the letter. When it said bold this, you have to bold this. So, but it's practice. It's okay. We're learning how to do it. We're learning together. I'm teaching, and I'm learning too with you. So just know that we're on this journey together. And mistakes can be fixed. And we are our failures. These are just ways to find out early so we can be really successful in our dissertations. Other questions for me that are general around writing or submission, stuff like that? There will be times when I ask you to submit to Writing Center. It'll be like in your syllabus, submit to Writing Center. And there are times when, you know, you might say, I want to get this synthesis paper done by Thursday. Submit it to Writing Center, get feedback on Friday, and revise over the weekend because I know I'm struggling with grammar. Or usage or mechanics. So even though it's not required to submit to Writing Center for the synthesis paper, you might come back and say, I'm gonna do it anyway. It's that important. So feel free, you have a link, it's right in our chat. It's like bookmark that bad boy, favorite it, put it on your menu bar so it's super easy to get. So that making appointments isn't hard. You're like, oh dang, there's so many places to go to make an appointment form, bookmark, like you'll have it, and you'll be like, that's the one. That's just my go-to, I'm gonna use it often. I will give you a break if you bear with me, just a little bit longer. Thanks for coming on screen, everyone. I really appreciate it. Also helps with your participation rates. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm not gonna set my PowerPoint you, but I do want to get there a few more slides before we get to our first break. Let's see, here we go. Share down. And feel free to at any time to drop questions or comments in this chat. Interesting. Now, this is wrong. This slide is wrong. My bad. Got it. Okay. Well, I'm going to fix it verbally. And then I'm going to go in this PowerPoint, and all the PowerPoints are now inside that classroom. I'll show you. I'll have to change this. Important to know that week 8 was going to be held inside our classroom, but it's going to be held in a Tuesday class. So week 8 will be held Tuesday night, 6:20 p.m., June 24th. Mark that in your calendars, change that in your calendars, or right now if you want. This is a mandatory change. You have to attend the Tuesday class. It's a really cool class because all the classes in Doc 700, I think there are like 8. So you'll be surrounded by over 100 students who are also starting their doctoral program with you. These are going to be your people for the next couple of years. We're all going to meet together, and there is going to be a panel discussion hosted by successful doctoral students. It is an awesome class. It will inspire you. You will have come to the end of your journey in your first session. You'll be well on your way, and it's a great class. And it happened to be Tuesday, June 24th, not Monday. I'll change this, and I will remind you every week. I will start by correcting this one. Any questions about that?
So, Professor, so do we have like 2 classes on June 23rd and 24th, right?
Great question. No, we won't come together on Monday, only on Tuesday.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so that means we cancel our Monday class. We'll be at our Tuesday. We'll be at our Monday class on Tuesday instead. Good question. Okay. The only thing true about this agenda is we talk a little bit about AI. We will talk in depth about the literature review, and we've done these 2 bullets. We'll do synthesis practice, and we hopefully may get to seminal research. Okay, students, let me take a quick audio. Okay, so it sounds like my audio is not coming through for more than one person. Oh, okay, everyone. Wow, okay. I'm not even getting a message that I'm unstable, but let me turn off my video. Okay, let's see if this helps. Okay, okay, nobody can hear me. Okay. Uh-oh, ruh-roh. How about now?
It look good now.
Better. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for telling me. I appreciate it. And I will speak slowly, and if it happens again, give me a message in the chat, please. I'll continue on. This is our agenda. We've already hit a lot of those notes. We may come back to this. What is a literature review? This is a video. We are going to watch it together. It's about 18 to 20 minutes. So I'm going to wait to share this with you. I want to give you a break, students, because you had a lot of time where you were listening. So I want to give you the opportunity now to stand and stretch. And let's take, let's see, we're at the 40 mark, 50 mark. At 5:07, well, 55. Let's take a full 15 minutes, students. It's a lot, and let's I'd like you to get up, stretch, have water, nutrition if you need it. You can go off screen, you can mute yourself, and yeah, just shake it off and come back refreshed and rejuvenated. Go take care of whatever you need to take care of, and I'll see you back here in my time it's 7:55, but it's at the 55 mark, 5 minutes before the next hour. And let's see, Aditi, I am going to make a breakout room. Going to make one. Okay, Aditi, you can join this room and I'll join you in a minute.
May I ask a question too? Oh, she's gone.
I believe she's gone. Yeah. We'll come back at 55 then.
Yeah, I guess
Yep.
so. Thank you.
Yep, sure.
Okay, students, let's come back and tell me how is my sound? Is it chopping? Oh, I can see it. It is. Okay, let me just boop. Okay, hopefully is sound better now. My voice is coming across clearly.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's your cat. Thank you. Okay. Okay, no. Let's go into presentation mode here. I will share my screen, try to figure out where we left off. Voila. Where's the literature review? Okay, pay super close attention to this one, students. You don't want to miss it. This is going to help you with your synthesis paper, which is your only assignment this week. This is going to tell you exactly how to do it. So stay tuned. I will be monitoring the chat as you have questions during the video. I will be checking that out, but let's at least get started. What is a literature review? And by literature review, we mean the synthesis paper that you're working on that you will then put into your mini proposal. This is so cool. Again, everything you're doing now builds into every subsequent week. So you're taking all this, and even though it's a big assignment coming up, you've already done half the work for it by the time you get to the proposal. So let's check this out together. Nope. Oh yeah. Okay, this is the right screen. Make sure you're seeing the right screen. Looks like you are. Let's see if I can grab this.
Throughout this video, we will explore how to write the literature review.
How is sound? Thumbs up. Good on sound. Right on. Thank you so much. There we go.
For your dissertation specifically. We will look at the definition of a literature review, its purpose, some examples, and then other things for you to consider, such as how to start the review, how to format the introduction, what tenses to use, and so on. At a base level, the literature review is telling a story. It's providing readers with a background of information on your topic so they can understand the relevance of your study. Now, specifically, it explains for your reader what is already known about your topic. It shows how your research fits into that conversation. It proves your knowledge and expertise on the topic and indicates what is missing, which is essentially your gap. Now, one thing worth noting with that proving of expertise, that is what this document will do. Now, it's important in the literature review to show that you have that comprehensive understanding of your topic for both your chair and committee members as you're creating your dissertation, but then also for your readers once it's finished. Now, you may have heard, or potentially you will hear, individuals in your committee say things such as, connect your ideas to the literature, validate this in the literature. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll understand how to do that throughout the literature review. But do note when they mention this, the literature, what they mean is scholarly sources. So you're looking at books, other dissertations, potentially a master's thesis, journal articles that have been peer reviewed, and the list goes on, but ensure that they are credible sources that you're using in this section. When you begin your literature review, you should have in mind the topic, your focus in terms of a research question, and then start by looking for the most prevalent work on those topics. So the main works that have been published. From that, you'll start to see how others have taken that work and started to make connections. And so maybe they're looking at using different methods, or potentially they've done a study with a different population. But through this, you're going to start to see where information connects, where it differs, how it all fits together. But in that, you are creating a picture for yourself, which you will then tell to your readers in the form of a story. This is how it all connects. This is what's been done. This is what is known. This is what's important. And then from that, they get to see where you're going to take the story next. Now, what does this actually mean in a practical capacity? Well, let's look at a dissertation that was completed by Dr. Broding. Her research question was, what do women student veterans' experiences with writing assignments and in college writing courses during the service to higher education transition reveal about identity, belonging, and voice? So she identified her topics, and within the literature review, she explored what's already known about these topics. So she included information such as women student veterans in higher education, specifically military cultural influence and specific needs. And before I move on, let me just note, to help understand the broader picture of this, she was also doing this through the framework of the feminist critical theory. Secondly, she explored now wider student veterans transitioning into higher education. So she looked at identity, belonging, voice. And then lastly, student veterans in education, instructor responsibilities, curriculum, using veterans' assets. Now from that, she showed us where the research fits. She showed that there is a need to focus on women student veterans as opposed to studying student veterans as a collective unit or as a whole. So essentially her gap was research has determined the struggles for student veterans in transitioning into higher education. However, little research has been done on women student veterans transition as evidenced through college writing courses on identity, belonging, and voice. Now, through this and through the depth of information she added to this section, she proved her expertise or knowledge on this topic. So where do we begin? How do we start the literature review? First, you want to identify the focus of your research. What does your reader actually need to know prior to beginning to read your study? From that, start to search for literature that's related to your topic. So try to focus on the most relevant literature. So think past 5 to 10 years and credible sources. Now, I say that with a caveat, because if you are looking at different theories that have developed over time, a lot of those theories are going to be published quite a bit before the last 5 to 10 years, and that is fine. But do try to focus predominantly on more relevant literature. And then after that, evaluate the literature. So you are starting to identify patterns, similarities, differences, limitations, gaps, helping you to see how it all connects. It's important to read through to identify how an author structured or chose methods, right? Did that actually impact what they determined in their findings or their implications? What was the purpose of their article or of their work? These are good things to start to question as you're looking through the literature itself. After you've identified the type of information you want to incorporate, think about how you'll organize the review. You want to do this in a way that's logical so that your readers can follow the storyline. Now, typically this is done in 4 ways: chronologically, thematically, theoretically, and methodologically. If you are organizing by a chronological organization, this is showing the development of the topic or the focus over time. So an example of this could be, let's say I wanted to do a study on English language learner teaching practices. And in that, I looked at how those practices changed over time. So potentially I'm looking at the last 30 years, and I'm looking at how it's changed over the decades. Thematic, you explore different aspects of your topic or of your focus. So an example would be if I was doing a study on social media's influence on business success in the 21st century, I could divide my literature review by topic. So potentially information on social media and marketing, social media and customer reviews, social media and customer relationships, and so on. Theoretical. Here you're focusing on theories or concepts that exist, the relationships between them, and then how much is already known about them. So an example could be if I was looking at leadership effectiveness, I could look through the various leadership theories that already exist to determine how are they similar in practice or in focus. Have they been proven to be effective? Is there contradicting information about those? And then lastly, with methodological, you're identifying patterns between results that have been collected using different methods. So think qualitative versus quantitative, empirical versus theoretical, and were they effective? So if I was doing a study on the effectiveness of standardized testing to determine student success, I might compare qualitative studies that may have focused on student or educator perception, and then quantitative studies that focus more so on the test scores and GPA to determine how to improve the testing practice. Sure that they are
Sorry, students, I'm just trying to get back to that screen for you. It's so important that I want you to be able to screen capture that. But if I can't get there right now. There we go. So screen capture this or take a picture, however you want to grab it. And here's why. In your actually not next week, but the week after, we will be starting the mini proposal. And there will be a section, several, dedicated to you're explaining whether you're going to go thematic or theoretical, quantitative or qualitative. All of these sections will be handled in your mini proposal, which means you're going to know there'll be a very specific template, and it'll say theoretical or thematic, and it's a it's a level heading, and you will use it. And some students won't follow the template, and some students will say theoretical or thematic. That won't be right. So I'm telling you now, it will be either thematic or theoretical. Those are not the same. You will need to know the difference. And you will need to describe only one in context of your topic and your literature review. So hence, this is an important slide. We're going to revisit it, not in this format. That's why I want you to hang on to it, keep it, and come back to it. But it will continue to be important as we progress. Any questions so far?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm. So we can't use two at once. We just have to choose one, right?
Well, okay, yeah. So good question, Christina. You will discuss methodology. You will choose either qualitative or quantitative. And as Dr. Gray said, don't choose both. I would say, or more than half of you will want to choose mixed methods. And some of you will choose mixed methods. And you choose it because you think, well, both is better than one or the other. But when it comes to actually doing your dissertation, you will see that that's very impractical, and you're creating so much more work and not necessarily more accurate data sets. So So in answer to your question, you will cover methodology. And when it comes to actually talking about your framework, the mini proposal says, tell us about your framework. You will choose thematic or theoretical because they're different approaches. Does that make sense?
I just want to so for this purpose, the proposal we're going to write, it's say advisable for us to choose one, but in broader sense, if you're doing your maybe writing your dissertation or maybe publishing your article or something like that, can you use the mixed method? Can you ever use it?
I mean, Christina, honestly, you can use it anytime you want.
Okay.
And if it's germane to your study and you're committed to it, you can use it anytime you want in any publication or paper you want. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Super good questions. I'll try to get past the screen. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Back up a little. Back up a little. Okay. Here we go. I will be quiet
Your
now.
review. Just do it in a way that makes sense to you as well as to your readers. When you're ready to
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay.
This is one of our books. It's selling about 25 copies
So
a day.
sorry,
And the
students.
cool thing
This
is,
is so
I didn't
upsetting.
even write it myself.
Okay. Oh, bless. Nope. I can't. So sorry. I just have to start over. Let me queue up back to where we were. Okay, okay, I promise, we're coming back. Here we go. Okay, we had a little intermission, we're going back. Et voila.
introduction. Within this introduction, we include the context, the purpose and the reasons for reviewing the literature, and then the sequence and the scope. An example, if my research question was how social media has influenced how businesses operate and achieve success in the United States since 2010. I could start that by defining my context. Social media has had an enormous impact on business interactions and success, to then indicate my purpose or reasons. It is crucial to indicate the level of influence social media has gained within the last decade to understand how drastically the business environment has shifted. An important thing to note here is that in this definition of the context, I'm using present perfect. So that has, have plus the past participle, because I'm stating a fact, but I'm also saying it has relevance now because this is what I'm studying. And then the indication of the sequence or the scope. Example, the review of literature will explore the history of social media, the bump, bump, bump. So I would continue on with everything that I would do within that literature review. Note here, I'm using the future simple, will plus the base form of the verb, which is very typical in terms of creating a thesis for your essay. This is a very similar flow here when you're identifying the sequence and the scope. Now, a couple of considerations for you as you go throughout the literature review. You don't want to simply summarize articles on the same topic. You want to synthesize that information. And I do have an additional video specifically on how to synthesize if that's something you're not familiar with. So please feel free to look at that. Now, you don't want to summarize articles without indicating evidence, data, or findings, but instead you're looking to analyze the results or alternative ways that authors have looked at an issue. This is an example. So one thing I would not want to do is say, Leach did a study about effective strategies to implement a servant leadership approach. If that's the only thing that I said, it's essentially telling my readers nothing, because I don't know what she found in terms of effective strategies or how they were implemented. Instead, if I did that with more specific information, I could say, Leach found that 3 strategies were effective in implementing a servant leadership approach: collaborative language, lack of hierarchical structure, and intensive mentorship opportunities. Now, from that, I could then analyze what other authors have found. Did they find any information that would be similar? Did they identify the same strategies? Or did they identify maybe 1 or 2 of the same strategies, but one that was different? So from that, I can start to weave together a story. Additionally, don't force connections between articles. You want to ensure that there's an explicit connection between the articles. So what do I mean by that? Let's say that Smith found that 85% of participants blamed a lack of training as the biggest obstacle to productivity, whereas Jones found that 25% of participants found their leadership at businesses to be unorganized. Now, if I was going to force something to be said about that, I could say employees have determined that lack of productivity is most heavily influenced by lack of training and leadership disorganization. However, if you look at what Jones has said, Jones did not find that disorganization was connected to a lack of productivity. So there is a forced element there. Instead, if it was more explicit, common issues employees have found with leadership include disorganization and a lack of training offered. Okay, so do keep that in mind as you're making connections between the articles. And lastly, don't try to make it longer with irrelevant information or filler information. Try to focus only on studies or content that's related to your point and fits under each of your subheadings. Additionally, do not use quotations throughout the review, right? So you want to use these sparingly. Essentially, you want to paraphrase. And now this comes back to being an expert. You want to use your language when writing the literature review because you are proving your expertise on this. When you quote heavily, you're relying on someone else to speak for you. Additionally, don't provide information that's too narrow or too broad. Instead, focus the information on what the reader needs to know prior to understanding the relevance of your research questions and what their answers will actually be able to offer to the field and what is known. Don't incorporate information that is not credible. We've already talked about this. Do look for credible sources. And lastly, don't include authors who just agree with you. Try to show variety of thought and perspective on your topic. The last thing to consider is the tense that you would use throughout. 3 typical tenses that are used throughout the literature review are present simple, present perfect, and past simple. Now, you'll use present simple when you're providing a definition, stating a general truth, or a repeated action. An example of this in the literature review. In the literature, there are many examples of the negative ramifications associated with ineffective leadership. I am stating a general truth because it's there. It is in the literature. I found it, and I'm proving that through the incorporation of citations. Present perfect is used when you're discussing something that started in the past and it's either not finished or it's something that happened in the past, but it's relevant now. So an example of that would be, many of the theories have been rooted in the belief that learning is most effective if personalized. So with the present perfect, it's that have, has plus the past participle. But it's common in literature reviews because what you have found as fact or evidenced is important or relevant now because you are bringing it up to study it. And then lastly, past simple. So we'll use this when we describe a definite or a finished time in the past. From 2011 to 2017, Jones researched. Okay, so there's that definite end date. And then also if you're referring to a specific finding in the research, Adamson found, Blark identified. I hope this was helpful. We do have additional videos available about how to write the literature review, but this should be a good starting point to understand
Okay, students, do you have questions for me? Are you able to hear me?
I want further elaboration on the part she said we don't have to force. I didn't get that very well. If we can look at that part.
What do you mean? Sorry,
In the
what do you mean? Like force, give me more context.
Yeah, so in the video, I
Mhm.
think did I capture 1 second? I captured it. So for example, she gave an example of Smith and Jones,
Okay.
where in Smith article he what am I? So she said we don't have to force and then be more explicit, right? So kind of comparing the two articles of Jones and Smith. Jones was more of kind of 85% of participants blamed lack of training as the largest.
Christina, not sure if you can hear me. Sure. Okay, let's see. Is Christina still on?
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, my network is worrying me.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. Christina, just turn your video off. And let's see if that helps, and try to ask your question again. And I do see the question about theoretical versus thematic.
Yeah.
But Christina, let's start with you.
Yes, that's correct. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I was saying that if you can just explain where she said we do not have to force. So there was two explanations, force and being explicit, right? So I just want more clarity on that.
So yeah, I think it's, she was just saying, don't force a connection that isn't there. So don't feel like if you don't see a pattern, and yet you're in this literature review and you're wanting to show patterns of thought, don't show a pattern of thought that doesn't exist. Like, don't force it. If it's not there, it's not there, and rather point to that, where you could say something like, where one would expect to see similarities when it comes to AI and ethics in education, we see divergent patterns of thought where we might expect to see commonality. Like, so don't force it. Read the literature for what is there, because what you will then do is, where there are gaps, that's where you can study and become relevant. You are relevant where there are gaps in the literature. Gaps in the literature determine the significance of your study more than anything else. And this is also why ChatGPT is insufficient ultimately to help you, because what you're doing is what we know that large language models do is they cull everything that's been done and talked about and said. And if they don't know it, it'll make it up and hallucinate for you. So as experts in the field, what you're going to research is everything that's not already out on the web. It's not in the internet. It's not in dissertations prior to you. That's how you establish yourself as a credible subject matter expert. So super important nuance to understand around what is a doctoral research project? How do you become a subject matter expert? How do you become a contributing voice in the ongoing dialogue? It is to find what is not yet there and document your own original research to join the dialogue and tell us what is new, what you've discovered. So Christina, all that to say, don't try to make connections where connections do not exist. I hope that helps. There was also a question around thematic versus, theoretical. So when we look at themes, we're looking at patterns of meaning or themes that emerge from data. This is particularly true in qualitative research. So you're going to be organizing, interpreting data in ways that reflect participants' experiences. And, when it comes to your findings and your results, this is where we're going to be looking at themes. When it comes to theoretical, you're looking at frameworks. These often already exist, right? And here, instead of organizing and interpreting data, you're guiding and informing the research questions. Now, you put these frameworks into the literature review, and which is a chapter in your dissertation, and you will revisit these. So they're not totally disconnected. Themes, again, you're looking at patterns of meaning. Theories, you're looking at frameworks or constructs that already exist. And you might be creating a new theory. Think about if we, harken back to your general education studies when you read about psychology and you looked at theories like Freudian psychology or Jungian psychology. Those are frameworks, theories. You could become a therapist, for example, and you could operate under the theoretical framework of Jungian psychology, which is to say the collective unconscious will be guiding principles. That would be a theoretical approach to psychology. Thematically, you wouldn't even talk about psychology that way. Thematically, you would talk about, as a therapist, you might say, we're looking at this issue and there are themes about unconscious behavior. There are themes around behaviors and how we can change behaviors. Those are themes. Yeah, those are themes, patterns we see, patterns of meanings we see. Theoretical talks about, theories that are already out there, quantum mechanics, Albert Einstein, that's a theory. So hopefully those examples give you a more clear understanding of what's possible in the way of theoretical versus thematic. Does that help? Have I answered your question? If I haven't completely, we'll revisit this every week till the end. You'll be experts. I promise. Okay, students, hearing no more questions, let's continue. I'm going to go ahead and the last class, students, is, really going to be exciting too. We're just going to talk about what to do. What are we working on? And what is this synthesis paper going to look like? And stand by. If you're still asking questions in the chat, I will get to them. Stand by, stand by. Okay, here's the process for working on your synthesis paper. So navigating the literature review. So you've already identified your topic. You've done your research, right? You've looked at the studies, the articles. Feel free to continue to research as you continue every week. If there are things you want to switch out, you can do that. Your job here is to explore the connections to understand what's out there, right? So you're writing and developing an understanding of what is already known, and then you synthesize and create a picture so you can show where your research fits in to what already exists. That means you're identifying gaps in the literature. And that's just as we talked about, this is where your voice becomes important, right? Let's see, I saw my page. Okay. So what is synthesis? So synthesis where you take the literature and you combine elements to form a whole. It's a way to analyze and integrate information from selected sources. And here you are identifying keywords, patterns and themes. Here's what synthesis does. It accurately reports information from the sources using a full arsenal of varying phrases and sentences. This is where the paraphrase becomes important. You're organizing it in a way that readers can immediately see where the information and sources overlap. You're making sense of sources, and you're helping the reader or the audience understand them in greater depth. So you're bringing to light, not just a summary, but patterns and themes. And you are showing innovative critical thinking by bringing information together in new ways and specific ways. It doesn't do. You're not going to provide a series of summaries because you already did that. You did that in your last assignment. You're also not going to bombard your reader with a series of facts, examples, tables, quotations, data. No. And bear in mind, you're not going to open your paragraphs with any of the above, nor are you going to end a paragraph with a paraphrase or a citation. No. You're going to develop full paragraphs, providing claims, providing data to support those claims, and then you're not going to end on a paraphrase. Rather, you're going to interpret that data and connect to the next idea. This is idea development at the doctoral level. So synthesizing information looks like discussing how the themes compare and contrast. What are the conclusions that are being drawn? And how can you bring this together in a meaningful way that addresses the topic that you're going to ultimately research? Any questions about that so far? Okay, students, here's the assignment. Using the articles you identified in your bibliography, it's only about a 5 to 6 page paper. You will synthesize key themes and findings and insights from your 10 articles. Provide a comprehensive overview of your topic by examining and contrasting the different perspectives, identifying critical themes, and creating a cohesive narrative that illustrates the state of knowledge on the topic. Include these elements: a clear description of the topic. This is where, if you're using any large language models, your paper will fall apart. You need specific examples of how the topic is presented within your industry. You have to come up with those examples. And who's affected by this? You know, who are the groups? What's the demographic? What does that look like? And how are they affected? And explain how and why these stakeholders are impacted with supporting evidence from the literature. Compare and contrast the perspectives of different authors, noting areas of agreement, divergence, emerging themes. Again, all of this is in your the Gap classroom. I'm going to show you where to find that here in a little bit. You know, you're highlighting patterns and noticing gaps. That is to say, where does the literature fall short? What couldn't you find? Not just the limitations like, this study only focused on Austrian HR resources and how they're using AI to date in the last, year. That's going to be a limitation of the study. What about gaps? What when you look at the entire body of literature, what is not being talked about? That's what will drive the significance of your study. What isn't there? Which is, a little tricky to find out, but what isn't there will help you the most. And every theme should be backed by specific in-text citations from your sources. You should use about 10, right? Over the course of 5 to 6 page paper, 10 citations is about right. Always APA, always with the title page. A lot of you did not have title page and reference, but we didn't have to have a reference page for annotated bibliography, but a lot of missing title pages last assignment. I did not mark you down for that because it was our first assignment, but this time definitely want that title page, want that 5 to 6 page paper, as well as a reference page. And then of course, check your grammar. And there were questions, do you need to submit your paper to the Writing Center? You don't this time, but it will help you if you do. So in this particular case, I would try to get this paper written by Thursday or Friday. I would, make your appointment for Friday or Saturday. And remember, if you go through the Doctoral Writing Center, they're only going to look at it for an hour and you will get your paper right after that hour is up. So if your appointment is at 3, you'll have your revision ready to be looked at, or not your revision, but your feedback an hour later at 4. And then you can spend the weekend revising. I think it's helpful. You'll probably get a better grade if you do that. It is not required. And you can enable track changes. It will be helpful because then you can just accept changes. Please go through the PowerPoint if you want to learn how to do that. Shows you how to do it in both. I'm not going to get into this all now because this is a lot. So, Osama.
Yeah, Professor, just about the assignment, I do have a question actually. For the
Sure.
first week assignment, we've done a review for 10 articles. So now do we have to do a synthesize for the 10 articles too in the week 2 assignment, or
Yes.
for how many we need for the 10 of them?
Yep. You use the annotated
Okay.
bibliography. Yep. You just work on those articles you've already looked at.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Nachiket.
Hey, Professor.
So,
As per your remarks on my assignment, I completely misunderstood the assignment. So I thought we have to find 10 articles and do that. So do you
you want
want
me
me
to
to?
delete it? You want to resubmit?
Yes, and then
Okay.
maybe I'll need to speak with you for a minute or two to
Sure.
understand it and then do it again.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we'll have time after class. I'm going to go delete it now, though, if you are telling me you want to revise it now. And students, by the way, I'm not going to I won't let you revise every paper every time, but there are special cases where you have to revise it. And I'm going to let you do that most of the time, but not everyone and not all at once, but sometimes you just have to revise because you made a blunder and you want to fix it. Nachiket, deleted. You're ready to go.
Thank you. I appreciate it,
Other
man.
Very welcome. And, stay tuned after class, we'll talk. Other students. I'd like to now, I am going to share my screen and just show you where I added a folder for you. Here we go. So here's our class. Here is the slide decks folder I just added. So if you click into here, students, every week I will add the resources that we went over class. So that way, if you have questions, you can be like, go back here and say, okay, this was Dr. Gray's about the Writing Center. Here's the bibliography template. Here's our presentation from week 1. Here's our presentation from week 2. And this list will continue to grow, but you can always find resources here. Any questions about it? Now, I'm going to put into the chat the change to week 8. The change to week 8 is June 22, 23, 24, so June 24. So we will not meet on June 23, which is a Monday. We will meet on June 24, which is a Tuesday. And to get to that class, I will be sharing with you the Zoom link and the password to get into that Zoom link because it will be different than our course. So don't go to our Zoom link. It will be different.
But Professor, where would we receive the invite? Is it on the way we are logging now, or it's gonna on our email?
I will send you an email. I will give it to you in week 7. I will chat you. I will WhatsApp you. I will give it to you every way I can think of to give it to you. So there's no confusion. Yeah. Yeah. Stay
Thank you.
tuned. You bet. You bet. Students, that's all I have from you. I know you're tired. I know that was a lot. And so we're getting out a little early tonight. It won't happen every week, but go celebrate your winnings. You got through week 1, you've entered week 2. The hard part's over. The hard part is over. I promise. Sheridan, go ahead.
Sorry, I raised it early, but yeah, after once we drop, I have like 2, 3 questions. Sorry.
No worries at all. Okay, students, if you don't have questions for me, you are free to go. Welcome to week 2 and congratulations for making it.
Yeah.
And stick around if you have questions for me.
Hi.
Have a great week, students.
Just want to quick clarify. So are we supposed to submit this week's assignment after we revised it, right? That means we need to submit in the writing center and get the feedback, and we revise it by ourselves and submit the final version, right?
I would, if I were in your shoes and my professor, me, said it's optional, I would do just that. I would write the paper in the next couple days, and then I would submit to Writing Center. It is not mandatory, Shoen, so you don't have to, but if you know your paper is going to be better if you submit it, I would do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Very welcome.
Can I also just ask, the
Sure.
10 courses, they're all supposed to be new references, right?
No,
Like
no, 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 no. They are the sources you've already found. Which means, Vera, in some cases, you might be copying, pasting a little bit from your annotated bibliography. Now, that wouldn't be the end of it. You can't totally just copy and paste. You have to synthesize. So you're going to be copying, pasting maybe 2 different articles and saying, the pattern here is this.
Okay.
But there will be some repetition in what you've already done. That's the beauty of this course. There is repetition in what you've already done.
Okay, so the data that we present should be from all of the references that we already have.
Yes, all the references that you already have.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Other questions? Okay, who had questions about their particular work? Anyone?
Can I go ahead, Professor?
Say again?
Yeah, I mean, can I go ahead? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, I mean, Professor, this is my first semester and first course, so I have submitted my anatomy biography, and I mean, I have left one more. I mean, I missed the deadline. So, how would I mean, I submitted one of them, but one is still left.
Oh, for which assignment, Shervin?
The first week assignment, the effective searching is still left
Oh,
for
yeah,
me.
yeah. Just do it. I won't mark you down.
Okay.
Yeah, just if you
And
can do it tonight or tomorrow night, just get it done within the next couple days. I'll go back. But students also too, if you miss something, I won't know that you miss it unless you WhatsApp me or you email me. So while I don't want you to send me your work on email, I do want you to say, Professor DeBello, Dr. Amy, go into week 2 or week 1 and look at effective searching in the module I just submitted. Then I'll know to go in. Otherwise, it doesn't flag me. So you do have to tell me that you did it. if it's late.
Sure. So is it fine? Like, once I submit, I'll just shoot an email to informing you.
Yep, perfect.
All right. That's all one of the questions I have. Thanks. And yeah,
Perfect.
Professor,
Thank
one
you.
more. I mean, last week we talked about like, the WhatsApp group, but I really missed that part. So how do
Oh,
add myself?
students, did we not do it for this class? Doc 700. Oh, maybe that's my other Doc 700. Hang on. Oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't see it. Okay, does someone want to create that for us? Can someone create that for us?
Yeah, sure. Even I can do that.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to drop my number in the chat. Whoever wants to participate in this group, please drop your number in the chat. We'll also have to make this available to students who have already gone, so help me remember next week to invite those students as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just call it Doc 700 Summer 5. Doc 700 Summer 5 B. That's our section number B. That will help me.
Just give me one. I'll create one.
Yeah, take your time. I will put it here. B. Cat, do you have another question?
No, that's all. Good. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
perfect.
so I'll wait for the class to end as you said me. Yeah.
Okay.
Professor,
Yes.
I have a question about the writing center appointment. I know we spoke
Sure.
about it earlier, but what happens if by the time that I complete my like draft of assignment, I cannot get an appointment? What do I do in that case?
This early, you won't have that problem. That might be a problem in 2 weeks from now, but you won't. If you do, and you have to submit it late, I will understand. You will not be marked down. Students, this course, you're not going to be marked down for turning in things late, unless they're 2 weeks late and you haven't talked to me. Like otherwise, just tell me I couldn't get an appointment, and that will be noted. And then you'll email me and say, I just submitted it, and you'll say Summer Doc 700 5B. And that'll be us. And I'll know which class to go to and which week. So just be real specific with me because I have a lot of students.
Sounds good. Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Very welcome. Other questions? Neve, I did get your email. I will have it. You're good. I will go back and submit. Yeah, I'll go back and check any late work. Appreciate the email. Thank you.
Of course.
Anything else, students? Okay, going once. Joy, do you have a question? I saw you come off mute.
Yeah,
That
so
was like, yeah, go ahead.
So Professor, as I told you, right, I just started the course. I'm just finishing up my move, and I
Okay,
didn't
yeah,
have
yeah.
access to the our gap portal at all. So I'm just honestly coming up to speed. So my understanding is that we identify a research topic. We will
Okay.
have gone through like 10 annotated bibliographies is basically 10 reports on that source, and then we want to do a literature review, correct? That's what's due in these 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly. So the first week you do the annotated bibliography.
Hmm.
And then there's that also assignment, effective searching and writing assessment. Those are separate. But the annotated bibliography is what you're going to use to write your synthesis paper this week. And that takes care of the first 2 weeks.
Understood. Okay. And then, so my question is, like, how do we decide on the topic? Like, what do we want to do? And or is this topic fixed? Is this going to be the topic that I'm going to use from now on?
No, it's yes. In this class, the answer is yes. You're going to pick a topic, and that will be your topic for the next 8 weeks. And then you will not have to commit to this for your dissertation. You will not have to commit to this for the next 2 or 3 years. This is just for this next 8-week session. So pick something not that you think will be easy, but that you can be passionate about.
Understood. Because yeah, that's why I asked, because like very
Yep.
early in the course, right? If you choose this for your
Exactly.
dissertation, yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. And
Yeah, and then
this is due on Thursday, right? Thursday midnight. Is my understanding correct?
well, no, sorry for the confusion. Your assignment is not due until Sunday night, 11:59 Pacific
okay.
Daylight. But I only was using the example of Thursday in case you want to submit to Writing Center and get feedback and then be able to do the revision by Sunday.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Very welcome. Very welcome. Anything else, students? Okay, I like that you all stayed around just in case there were questions being asked that you needed to know the answer to. Awesome. Thanks for making that WhatsApp. I see it in my app right now. Students, it's been wonderful to teach you tonight. I can't wait till next week. Reach out on WhatsApp or email if you need me between now and next class, please.
And
Here
Professor,
all
I have added the WhatsApp link on our Zoom chat as well for everyone.
Oh, perfect. Yep, I see us. Thank you so much. Yay. Okay, students, I will see you next class.